Hey, Tea Sippers. Hey. I saw you, Paul. I saw you. Hey, y'all come on in. I don't know why it always get intensified towards the end when it comes close to time for me to come. Can I talk to you? Yeah, can I talk to you? Yeah, man, this is just too close for comfort for Auntie Fee. Too much going on, y'all. Way too much going on. And I don't know why I'm beginning to believe kind of on purpose. If I can say that, it just has a texture of on purposeness. Yeah, y'all come on. Yes, I want to talk about what's going on, what I'm seeing. I didn't really want to touch much on the lady in the Walmart parking lot the other day. You know, I'm kind of a texture kind of person. And, you know, I'm true to how I feel. But Nolan with these white boys, you know, you know, hearing some of what Trump said last night, how he can't get Obama out of his head. You know, are you in love with this dude? Are you in love with his intellect? You know, you just cannot get enough of him. So you know, you be having these racial undertones, you know, and then, you know, I know that they thought or they was hoping that they was gonna be able to kind of unalive, you know, get their hands on Karmelo Anthony. Auntie P, you not gonna wait for the people to come? Oh, I'm not waiting. I just went on in, you know, cause I'm feeling a particular type of way. The texture of it just don't feel right, and it just makes me feel like they did not get a chance to get Karmelo the way they wanted to. Yes, he's locked up. Yes, it's 35 years in prison. But they really wanted to send him to the Metcalf prison farm where the Metcalfs are the wardens. And it felt like somebody saw what was going on and kind of detoured on that. It kind of felt like there was words on the street that, oh yeah, he gonna get ugged and tugged and toe tagged. And then black folks stood up and said, oh no, not this one. Oh no, not this one. Oh no, sir. This one is a good kid. And I just don't know. It just don't feel right. I feel like it was intentional. And when I heard some of the video or some of the verbiage that was going on, it also tripled the texture of just, yeah, it just mimicked to me Karmelo. And then it was Mississippi. And so black folk, Auntie Fee want to ask you, why you think them folks your friends? I don't care if y'all play football together. I don't care if y'all been friends, you know, since little bitty. You know, that hatred for colorism is taught. And making America great again is making America slaves again. I've been saying that for over a year now. I've been trying to, I don't want to say force, but just intentionally put that in your head. I need for us to understand that. Are all the light skin of the 50 shades of brown, I mean pale, I mean peach, I mean tan skin, I mean, are they all evil? No, they're not. Nope. Nope. But there are a lot of them that are. And there are a lot of them who, how they feel has been suppressed. It has absolutely been suppressed. And when you have a president that comes in and says, oh, you don't have to suppress that no more. It's open season on black folk. I need for y'all to understand that I'm giving y'all permission to unalive them. Now, see, I can almost tell you, and I pray to God I'm wrong, and I don't even want to put it out there. I don't even want to talk about that because I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. I want how I'm feeling right now to be absolutely wrong. I hope they give, the same amount of time they gave Karmelo to these white boys who done set him up and sacrificed him the way. Now, we know that that's not what happened with Karmelo. We absolutely know that's not how that went down. That's just how they gonna play it. That's how they played it. Let me say it that way. That's how they played it. That was not the case, but that's how they played it to cover for the ill-mannered, ill-tempered Hunter, Eddie and Carson, and whoever else marched their asses back over from that field house over to where the canopy was. Because they had ill intent. I think these peach boys at Horn Lake had the same intent as Hunter, Austin, Eddie, and Carson. This time they was able to succeed. With Karmelo, they wasn't quick enough. He beat them with his speed. That's how one of the Memorial boys accidentally unalive one of their own. And so they don't want to say that because old big mouth racist ass Metcalf wasn't man enough to stay with his spirituality when he first said, I forgive them. Because in essence, I know my sons were bullies. Hunter told me everything that happened. And it was really an accident. So I forgive Karmelo. But once he found out that his son, Hunter, the badass one, could be tried for the good Metcalf's unaliving, he backed up off of that. I forgive him, and then went along with them good old boys story. Now, as it relates to Nolan, may he rest in peace. In my heart of heart, how I really feel right now is that was intentional get back from the racist people in the United States. The Making America Great Again. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if enough digging was done that they don't know somebody in Frisco. In Frisco, too similar. Really good athlete, college bound, or he was in college, Parents was, again, thought it was best to move their kids in the white community. Thought it was safe. because he do not appear to be a hood kid. So before I dive in here, because I've been busy today, I was out and about, so I really have listened to maybe 1.5 person at a minimum of about 10 minutes in. But, I listened to that hate speech the president did last night, and they ring too close for me. The hate and the hate agenda, the making America slaves again, his distaste, his dislike for the darker shades of the 50 Shades of Brown. He wants a race war. He wants the darker shade of the 50 Shades of Brown, because whether they want to believe it or not, they came from us. We didn't come from them. Hey, I don't know what's happening. Hey, Dante, Cynthia, Pre-Pressure, Mississippi is on the clock. Oh, yeah. Mississippi burning, all of that. All of that. Yeah, all of that. All of that. And we have a racist president who has an agenda. He has tried on more than one occasion to try to stir up, the darker shades of the 50 Shades of Brown. Texas, he kind of got his way. They kind of got their way, but they know black folk ain't standing for it this time. And guess what? If this kid is a good kid, as it appears he is, them peach boys got some splaining to do. But they just want us to be ignorant, That's what they've been waiting on. It didn't happen. It didn't even happen when they tried to plan it with the insurrection, where, putting weapons and bricks and guns in the street of the hood, thinking that the black folks was going to grab them and go and act the fool, and we was going to be the ones climbing walls, acting the fool, riding, and all of that type of stuff. About every 4 or 5 years, we get one of these circumstances and situations where they expect for us to act up. And I guess they saying, hell, we knew they asses was lazy. They too lazy to get up there and act a fool. What done happened to them acting up and acting out? We just done got a little more dignified with it. I mean, when we see the bait, it just ain't never good to take the bait when you can see that it's bait. Am I tripping? Or am I too damn bougie? Am I tripping? Am I just too damn bougie that it's just, we're not taking it like that. No, we just not falling into the trap like that. And that's what it feels like to me. But I'm finna ease on over into listening to what they saying about Nolan. I really don't like just jumping into it early on. I don't like that no more. I'm not trying to be the first. I promise I'm really trying to let God lead me and guide me to what it is I need to hear and understand, instead of just jumping out there. But I promise you that this feels too close to Karmelo Anthony. It's like, I hate to say it, but it almost feels like, to me, it's just my opinion, it kind of feels like to me that they saying these niggas ain't gonna let us just have our way with this Karmelo Anthony boy. They stirring up a lot of dust. They stirring up a lot of legalities that they looking at us now, and hell, our asses may be in trouble. We wanted, civil unrest. We wanted a war, but hell, we didn't want it where they was looking at us. We wasn't supposed to get caught. Hell, we getting caught. So this not gonna work out because how? Oh Lord, y'all. My niece sent me an audio clip. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to check that, child. So it's almost like, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, ain't no way we're not gonna be able to deny the appeal or do a new trial. Hell, we just bypassed everything. Didn't nobody do what they were supposed to do. And these nigglets done figured this shit out real quick, fast, in a hurry. So we got to find us another one. And this time we can't fuck up. We got to send a message. And that's what this Nolan Wells feels like to me. It feels like this is a message from the good old boys. So it went from Karmelo, his fake jewelry, you know, them sending him up the river, then thinking that they was going to send him to the Metcalf family penal, well, I'm just going to say the prison, where the warden is related to Austin. That backfired. Now he taking college courses and he got a really, really good winning team. That you know. What is it called in football when they throw that Hail Mary, somebody catching and they think they have a touchdown and they have to call that shit back? This is going to be a callback. And then you had this woman, you know, and I'm going to be honest with that one. It's almost like she lured. I don't know. I'm going to leave that one alone for now. Hey, Mimi. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about the lady in the Walmart. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't think she gonna get off. I'm gonna wait for the details, but I don't think she gonna get off on that one. Did they make him walk? I don't know. I'm finna listen to it because I heard that one of them videos where they was saying they was cussing him out or they was cussing out somebody, and they making it seem like they was cussing him out when he went to another boat. I don't know. I'm finna start playing it. But that lady at Walmart, at Kroger's or whatever store she was at, you know, she was arrested and I think she bonded out. But I don't know Florida. I don't know fully Florida's stand your ground like I know Texas. I don't know if they're very similar. I think people say they're very similar. But she did a lot to me. She did a lot to me. And I don't know if she gonna get off. She gonna walk. You think so? She even tried to retreat. I didn't see that. I saw her go into her car and she got a weapon pressure, and then she came out and she was recording it. I don't like the recording it. I don't like that there was a couple of times, you know, when she went and got into her car, was his car blocking her car from getting out? I don't think so. I just don't know how I feel about that one. See, it's funny. You saying she's gonna walk, but you saying Karmelo Anthony was right. She did that shit. Right. See, I don't know. See how we disagree? Because I think Karmelo Anthony did it right. And I saw a couple of times where girl could have, you know, she could have left. It almost felt like she lured him on purpose to me. Still mad because he was trying to block the car spot. So I didn't see the imminent danger like I did with Karmelo. And I may be wrong, so that's why I hadn't really said much about it. Because to me it was still too close. All of this is just too close. But I will say this, Pressure. I have not researched it like I did Karmelo Anthony. So some stuff I probably missed. And he, you know, yeah, these are grown people though. So I felt more stand your ground for Karmelo than I did. Well, she stood her ground, I guess. I found myself almost about to be hypocritical if I could be honest with myself. And every time I felt like I was about to make excuses as to why she was wrong, I had to come back to stand your ground. And because I don't know the laws fully in Florida, I just said, I'm just going to hush for a minute. And that's just being honest with myself because I don't know the laws. And you don't have to retreat. I don't know if that don't have to retreat is Florida's law. Is it Florida's law, Pressure? Have you researched it? She gonna walk? She even tried to retreat. See, I didn't see that. I saw her going to her car, getting her piece, having it down, still walking up on the man. You know, I don't know what he was saying. But anyway. So here we had these group white boys again. One white friend, one black friend. They cussing him out. You better not. Da 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 da. And now he gone. So let's jump on in here. I ain't even playing no jazz. Y'all see that? It's just this stuff is mind blowing, and it's just the world we live in right now when our president of the United States is promoting this type stuff. Want the racial divide. Let me get to what I've been listening to. I was finna jump into somebody else that is he in Mississippi? No, I think he in Houston. But rest in peace to him. It's just too much. It's just too much. Diabolical crime. Who is 504? Hold on, y'all. Here I come. I wanted to hear him. Let's listen to Thelma. Who else did I listen to? They buried and how they catch his phone, how they find his phone. How do they have his phone but don't know where he was? How is that even possible?
How does someone vanish in front of a crowd?
Search continues for a teen reported.
Can y'all hear this?
Horn Island. 18-year-old Nolan Xavier Wells was last seen Saturday afternoon on the northwest tip end of Horn Island.
I heard he went to a different island. I heard that he swam out trying to catch another boat. I heard a lot of different things, but I don't know which one is true. But I need to know exactly what's the last thing people saw Nolan doing. It's going to make my job a lot easier. There were some people that thought he
United Cajun
wandered
Navy.
off into the middle of the island. Maybe they have that lake. But we sent people up there today, and you know, if he was barefoot, there's no way he made it up there. There's cactuses and there's just a lot of thorny brush and whatnot. He would not have comfortably been able to make it to the middle of the island. He probably would have turned around and went back toward the beach. If you were one of the group that was with him, or if you were on the island and you were there and saw anything.
Y'all still here? I don't know. Again, I have no idea why it does this every time I go live now. It's just like it's a pattern. But y'all, can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I'm going to back it up a little bit. Let's go.
I would have turned around and went back toward the beach. If you were one of the group that was with him, or if you were on the island and you were there and saw anything, please don't be afraid to come forward and tell the authorities exactly what you know, no matter what you might think might be some consequences or whatnot. But it's very important right now in these critical moments.
He was last seen walking toward the water on a holiday weekend, surrounded by friends, surrounded by people, and somehow none of them can tell us exactly what happened next.
Right, because see, I'm saying Eddie and the Hunter boys, I mean the Metcalf boys, or I'm seeing, and is there a striking kind of resemblance of him and Karmelo? Am I tripping? Am I tripping? He just reminds me of Karmelo. And even when I saw the picture of him and his mama, he just reminded me of Carmelo Anthony. Am I tripping? And my intentions was to get a picture of Carmelo and Nolan together. But this young man reminds me of Carmelo Anthony. And these three white boys, it look like that's either the twins in Eddie or the twins in Carson.
A young man, an athlete, a son, gone in broad daylight on one of the busiest islands on the Gulf Coast. And the people who were closest to him in those final moments are the ones giving the fewest answers. How does someone vanish in front of a crowd and nobody sees a thing? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, I cover real cases, missing persons,
Law and
unsolved mysteries,
crime.
and stories that deserve far more described because we post breakdowns like this realize there are gaps the public hasn't been given answers to. It was the 4th of July, a day meant for cookout. Realize there are gaps the public. Let's talk about what actually happened here, because the more you look into this case, the more you realize there are gaps the public hasn't been given answers to. It was the 4th of July, a day meant for cookouts,
He remind me of
fireworks,
Eddie
boats
too.
on the water, the kind of day where nothing is supposed to go wrong.
Seemed
Nolan
like he
Xavier
didn't know
Wells,
how
a
to
young
read the
football player
room
with his
either.
entire future ahead of him, traveled out to Horn Island with a group of friends. And here's something important to understand right away. Horn Island is not some hidden, deserted stretch of land. It's a popular barrier island off the Mississippi coast, part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore. On a normal weekend, it sees traffic. On a holiday weekend, like the 4th of July, it's packed. Boats everywhere. People everywhere. Music, coolers, crowds. This was not an isolated place where someone could disappear without witnesses. This was a crowded island filled with potential eyes, and that's where the first major question begins. If this island was so crowded, how is it that nobody has come forward with a clear, complete account of what happened to Nolan?
Because they don't want
Around
to.
3 p.m. that afternoon, Nolan was last seen on the west tip of the northern side of the island. Blue swim trunks, no shirt, sunglasses on. That moment, captured in a photo, is the last confirmed image investigators have of him alive and accounted for. After that, everything goes quiet. No confirmed sightings, no verified timeline, no clear explanation of who he was with in those moments after the photo, or how the rest of that day unfolded. And that silence is what has unsettled so many people following this case. Because not long after Nolan failed to return home, his mother, Christine Wansley, began doing what every parent would do. She went public. She took to social
Why the
media,
fuck he out
pleading
there
with
with
anyone
them
who had
on
been
the
on Horn
fourth?
Island that day to come
Niggas go eat
forward.
barbecue pork
Photos,
chop.
videos, anything. even the smallest detail. Then she revealed a detail that instantly shifted how people saw this case. At some point that day, Nolan became separated from his phone.
She said, "What now?"
Anyone who had been on Horn Island that day to come forward. Photos, videos, anything, even the smallest detail. Then she revealed a detail that instantly shifted how people saw this case. At some point that day, Nolan became separated from his phone. That phone eventually made it back to his family in Mississippi. He did not. Let that sink in for a moment. His phone
His
came
phone
home.
returned, but
He
he
didn't.
didn't.
That's not a minor detail. That's the kind of detail that changes how people look at everything else. Did he leave it behind on purpose? Did someone else bring it back? Was he still with friends when that happened? Or was he already alone? Right now, those answers haven't been made public. Once it became clear Nolan was missing, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department moved quickly. A command post was set up at the Lake Mars boat launch in Ocean Springs. Multiple agencies were called in. This wasn't treated like a routine disappearance. Search teams fanned out across Horn Island and the surrounding waters. Boats, rangers, deputies, volunteers. And yet, even with all of that manpower, days into the search, authorities still couldn't confirm the most basic fact of this case, whether Nolan is even still on that island at all. Think about that. A massive search, multiple agencies. And the end, days into the search, authorities still couldn't confirm the most basic fact of this case, whether Nolan is even still on that island at all. Think about that. A massive search, multiple agencies. And the answer to where he is remains completely unknown. So how does a search this large still come up empty? And more importantly, what happened in the hours after that last photo was taken? Because when we start looking at who Nolan was with that day and why investigators are still publicly asking those same people to come forward, that's when this case starts raising even more questions. And that's exactly where we're going next. When investigators ask the public for help in a missing person case, that's normal. But when they continue asking days later for the same specific group of people to come forward, that's when attention shifts. Because law enforcement has already confirmed they interviewed multiple people who were on Horn Island that day. That includes people who were around Nolan. And yet, even after those interviews, authorities are still publicly urging anyone who was with him, spoke to him, or saw him after that 3 p.m. photo to contact them immediately. That wording matters. If everyone who had direct contact with Nolan had already provided a clear, consistent timeline, there wouldn't be a need to keep repeating that request. And that's why so many people following this case have zeroed in on the same uncomfortable question. What happened in that gap of time after the last confirmed sighting? Because right now, that gap is doing all the talking. Officials haven't said anyone is lying. They haven't accused anyone of wrongdoing.
My name is Chef Tajani, and what I'm about to share with you sounds absolutely impossible.
But they also haven't said they have a clear picture of
Oh,
Nolan's
Lord.
final
See,
movements. And when the people closest to a missing
see,
person are
don't this look familiar? Tell me this don't look like Karmelo and his girlfriend. Tell me it don't look like Karmelo and his girlfriend. Tell me this don't sound and feel remotely similar to Carmelo Anthony.
officials haven't said anyone is lying. They haven't accused anyone of wrongdoing. But they also haven't said they have a clear picture of Nolan's
This look like Carmelo, his girlfriend, and Eddie.
final movements. And when the people closest to a missing person are also the ones whose accounts don't fully explain what happened, that silence becomes impossible to ignore. That concern only grew when a public statement came from Casey Vaughn, urging anyone who had been on Horn Island, or anywhere near it, to come forward. She didn't just ask for witnesses. She didn't just ask for photos or videos. She specifically mentioned the possibility that Nolan may have been given a ride off the island. That single line changed everything. Because Horn Island isn't connected to the mainland. You don't just walk off it. If Nolan left that island, someone had to take him by boat. And if that happened, it means at least one other person knows exactly where he went next. So where are they? Investigators haven't confirmed whether such a ride happened, but they wouldn't raise that possibility publicly without reason. That tells us this theory didn't come out of thin air. It came from something someone said, or something investigators uncovered during interviews. And yet, no one has stepped forward publicly to say, I gave Nolan a ride, or I saw him leave the island. Another detail that quietly added to the confusion was the shift in Nolan's physical description. Early reports stated he was wearing black swim trunks. That was later corrected to blue. On the surface, that might sound insignificant, but in an investigation like this, details matter. When descriptions change early on, it usually means investigators are working with multiple witness accounts, and those accounts don't line up perfectly. Different people remembering the same moment in different ways. Different versions of the same afternoon. That doesn't mean anyone is lying, but it does mean the timeline is fragmented. And fragmentation is dangerous in missing person cases.
Look familiar? I hate to say this, but this has the same texture. It's just reverse roles. But I still believe that they was gonna try to take out Karmelo, and there's a good possibility that Karmelo was just too fast for him.
Because it creates space where crucial moments can disappear, just like Nolan did. It's also important to understand who Nolan was, because this wasn't someone drifting through town unnoticed. He was an Ocean Springs native, a standout football player at Ocean Springs High School, a freshman wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College, a young man with structure, routine, and a future that extended far beyond one holiday weekend. His football program released a statement asking the community to pray for his safe return. Teammates shared his photo. Coaches spoke about his character. This wasn't just a family looking for answers. It was an entire community, which makes the lack of clarity even harder to process. Here's what we know for certain and what we don't. We know Nolan was on Horn Island on July 4th. We know he was last seen around 3 p.m. We know he became separated from his phone. We know the phone made it back to his family. What we don't know is everything else. We don't know who last spoke to him. We don't know whether he entered the water voluntarily or accidentally. We don't know if he stayed on the island or left it. We don't know why no one has publicly filled in the missing pieces. And that's what's made this case explode online. Because this wasn't a disappearance in the dead of night. This wasn't a remote wilderness incident. This was daylight, a holiday, a crowded island, a group of people who were supposed to be watching out for each other. And somewhere between celebration and silence, Nolan Wells vanished. In the next part, we need to talk about the search itself, the scale of it, the agencies involved, and why even a massive, coordinated effort hasn't been able to give this family the one thing they need most, answers. Because when you look at how many resources have been poured into this search, the absence of resolution becomes even more disturbing. And that's where this case truly takes on a different weight. The scale of the search itself tells you how seriously authorities are taking this. This isn't a single department walking the beach and hoping for the best. This is a full multi-agency operation that escalated quickly and stayed active. Search crews have spent days combing Horn Island on foot, moving through brush, dunes, and shoreline. Boats have been running patterns around the island, checking the surrounding waters again and again. Air support has scanned from above. Rangers familiar with the terrain have covered areas most visitors never even reach. Volunteers have joined in, pushing themselves through heat and rough conditions, because one more set of eyes could make the difference.
Oh
And
yeah,
yet,
child, we don't.
despite all of that, there has been no confirmed sign of Nolan.
Oh yeah, bro. We passed that. Hold on. Confrontation. That was a whole confrontation.
You want to know what I just found out? Okay. So everything on Facebook is not always true, but I'm starting to believe that this little comment right here is. So, you know, the said three boys that went on the water with poor little Nolan. Turns out the comment states that one of their mommies is a chancery judge. Ain't that freaking lovely? What? So you mean to tell me that you might be protecting your poor little innocent baby? Boy, Heidi, let me tell you, I hope if your son done something to that little boy, I hope he gets every bit of what is coming to him. And that is respectfully as I can get it.
Okay, let's get straight to the point. Let's talk about this sad story coming out of Ocean Springs, Mississippi about Nolan Wells, who was
Hey, be
18
rich.
years old. Now, Nolan Wells come from a two-parent home. This picture right here, you can see his father to the left, and that is his mother to the right. Nolan Wells graduated from Ocean Springs High School in class of 2025. Now, he recently, after graduation, Nolan was a football player at Ocean Springs, but he also went on to go play college football at Southwest Community College in Summit, Mississippi. He was actually scheduled to move back into his campus with his best friend that he went to school with from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I want to say today, July the 5th, Monday, they were scheduled to move back in. Now, if you've been following this story, you know that Nolan Wells went to go take a ride for the 4th of July out on an island called Horn Island, probably about 8 to 10 miles or whatever off the coast of Mississippi from Ocean Springs. Now, this right here is the island. Right here, you can see it right here. Now, this is the group of
Oh, I know
friends,
Biloxi.
along with some others that's not pictured. But this is the boat that he was on with these group of friends. And I can just tell you right now that it's a lot of people feel some kind of way. As you can see in the beginning of the video, that lady kind of hinting that, hey, somebody might be working with somebody. Now, we don't know what's true and what's not. But there's a lot of info coming out, and we're going to talk about it all. Now for Nolan, he just wanted to live it up. Before he go back to school, he wanted to go hang out with his friends out there on the island, catch a boat ride on the water, just having some fun. 18 years old, just doing what kids do. But unfortunately, a parent sometimes go through something that no parent really want to go through, and that is your kid leaving the house with their friends or whomever, and they're not returning back home
Right.
safe. And Nolan's mom actually experienced it. His father experienced it. The mom went to Facebook and posted this on the 4th of July, later that evening. Said, update, please be on the lookout for Nolan. Last seen was west tip north side of Horn Island around 3 p.m., July the 4th, wearing blue shorts and sunglasses. It's unclear if he made it back on land. Please message me if you have seen him or have information about his whereabouts at or after 4 p.m. So basically, Nolan friends made it back, but Nolan did not come back home.
Ooh wee. Them was not his friends. Y'all better stop thinking them white.
Breaking news, a body has been found on Horn Island near where missing 18-year-old Nolan Wells went missing. Search crews like this one you see here in the air have been searching for him for more than 40 hours now. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Brandy McGill. Will Polston has been on the scene at a command post in Jackson County all morning as they search, and he now joins us live. Good morning to you, Will.
Hey, good morning, Brandy. We got word here just at about 8:45 that there was a body found on Horn Island, and that the officials are now working on bringing that back. Now, as of right now, we do not have an identity of the body that was found, but I can confirm that Nolan Wells' family is here at the Lake Mars boat launch. Now, they've asked us not to show the camera in that direction right now of the family grieving. There is quite a bit of family and friends here from Nolan's family, but like I said, we do not have identity as of right now. Sheriff Ledbetter did confirm that a park ranger ended up finding the body that was found, and the coroner was here earlier and has since left. They left right at about 10 o'clock, just after 10 a.m., waiting on getting official confirmation on the identity, cause of death, and everything else in between. Of course, as we find out more information, we're going to be updating you on our website at WLOX.com. But as of right now, a really somber scene as the family all gathered around, hugging and trying to enjoy each other's company during a somber time. Again, still waiting to find out the official identification of the body found, though. Reporting live in Jackson County, Will Polson, WLOX News Now.
Unfortunately, Nolan Wells did not make it home. The way he left, he did not return the same. Now, according to the news report, WLOX, a body was found at Horn Island, and as we all know by now, that body was confirmed to be 18-year-old Nolan Wells. Now, on July the 4th, his mom was on Facebook searching for her son, asking for information, waiting for his safe return home. Only for 2 days later, July the 6th, around about 8:30, 8:45 a.m. in the morning, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office down there on the Gulf of Mississippi, Ocean Springs, all down there, reported that they found the body, and the family had to confirm that it was Nolan. Nolan's mother, his grandfather, had made a post confirming it as well, but the mother had also made a post wanting to thank everybody, the friends in the family, community, and United Cajun Navy, the local law enforcement, and everyone involved for our love, support, resources over the last few days. His father, our family, friends, and I are absolutely devastated. My heart broken for my sweet son who was always willing to cheer and uplift others. Nolan was a special soul. God took his time creating our son. I ask that you please give me and my family time to grieve. And, what can you say? Condolences to the family and prayers to them during this difficult time. Like I say, Nolan with love. He came from a two-parent home, had his mother and his father right there by his side. And just a day of just going out to have fun with his friends, led to this tragedy hitting his family. Now, this is Nolan right here with his friends on the boat. Allegedly, I think this is them heading to Horn Island. Now, there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I said we was going to talk about it, so let's get into it. Now, allegedly, there was a confrontation. Not sure exactly if Nolan Wells was involved in that confrontation, but there are some people on the internet that is saying that the group that he was with had a confrontation within the group. And now, as you can see right here in this picture, I'm going to play a video, but this is a still shot from the confrontation that someone filmed, and you can actually hear someone get into it. And they're trying to say allegedly it was the group that Nolan was with, and this is Nolan right here. Now, shout out to Anna C. Moore for the video. We're going to play this video. You got to listen real close. You're going to hear individuals having a confrontation, arguing in the background during this time. So if you listen closely to the video, you can hear some individuals arguing in the background, and they pretty upset. And that's what people are saying, that group is the group
Yeah,
that
that
Nolan
wasn't
Wells
clear
was.
enough.
And this turned out to be true.
Because
Some
if that's the
facts.
case, it
That
sounded
the
like they
group
was
was
talking to
having a
somebody
confrontation, and
in the
maybe he's
water
involved, who knows?
or on a
And that's gonna
boat,
raise some eyebrows about
not
him
on
coming up missing,
land.
and his friends going back, and Nolan not coming back with them.
Okay,
Now,
so hold
there's
on.
also some comments from the internet or people trying to, confirm.
Let me go someplace else where there is an attorney on board. Let me hear what she was saying. Yeah, let me get to her. Because the tape I heard, it
If
was
you
a little
often
more
feel your
clearer
blood
than
pressure is
that.
on the high.
Hold on. It's a little more clearer than that. Let me get to it.
Individuals who have an interest in you, the average person in the last. So what made this different? Nolan, years of pictures that they've collected, I knew boat driver was negligent,
Let's go back.
Instagram or TikTok, and even my website, which is the bylbfirm.com. Go plain. When I say it's a step-by-step guide, these are the templates that you can standards that they provided during rights to a fair and just trial. Now, I will tell you the judge and the DA's step-by-step guide, because theirs different, especially the judge, what has happened in the last 48 hours. And for me, this was a hard one because many of you who are new here and you don't know, Saturday, I celebrated the 5th
Oh
year
yeah.
anniversary of losing.
Condolences to your
Time has
friend.
already been delayed, which means that their family filed this case. I knew exactly what the reality of his family was going to be and the importance of not allowing the officials or the police, judges, doctors to delay justice, because time has already been delayed, which means that their family is on the clock. Seeing what I saw a lot of red flags, and I'm gonna go ahead and add this to, hold on, the stage. I see this thing be getting on my nerves. You don't never want to act right. Hold on, y'all, while I figure this out, because it keep playing with me. Let me add something else to the stage. There you go. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into the usual suspects. This is one of the last photos that we saw of Nolan. We're gonna go over a timeline. But before we go over a timeline, I did do my own research of Nolan and these group of YTs. And it shows that they have a long history as friends. Nolan and these YTs are on years of pictures that they've collected. I want to say, I went
Hey,
only
Mrs.
back to
Tom.
2015, but it's past that.
So they go
They have
way
been
back.
on boats several times prior to this. So what made this different? Nolan, in almost every picture of these YTs, now mind you, Nolan is 18. He's a first year college student. They just finished his first year playing also college football. These group of YTs are also in college, but they're not quite 21. Why does that matter? It matters because you cannot drink legally, of course with the permission of parents, and they have to be present, but these individuals, almost every picture, they had an alcoholic beverage in their hands, and July 4th was no different. But see, the thing with boating and drinking is very dangerous, because if you ever get into an accident, your body with alcohol intake will put you in greater danger than a sober person. So we also know alcohol can make you act different as well. Well, as we see in this picture, they have what? Beers in their hand. So that's going to be an indicator as we continue
I agree,
to
DOD.
speak about what happened to Nolan. So his parents have been the ones that have made the massive statements or alerting us to what exactly happened. They started as soon as they got the news. word on the curb is from 3 to 4, there's a window of when Nolan actually goes missing. And we're going to play a video. And you're going to have to listen very clear and you're going to have to zone in because I tried to enhance, but it simply did not, it's not giving. So I did send it to Freezy because y'all know Freezy is, he in that lane, to see if he can enhance it to see exactly what was said on said video. So the timeline between 3 and 4, there's a window opportunity where he is alleged to have disappeared. Y'all know we not leaving nowhere without our phones. So if he disappeared, why is his phone with you or them?
Right.
Questions that need to be answered.
How did you get his
It is
phone?
also alleged that they did not alert his family until around 7 p.m. And that's when his family started to make posts. What the hell was y'all doing within 3 hours that y'all did not think it was appropriate or important to, call his mama? Then there's been allegations that in that timeline, they trying to paint a picture that Nolan was going to see an individual by the name of Katie. But if he's going to see somebody named Katie, why would he leave his cell phone with y'all if he has to contact a woman?
Was she on the island with them?
So I said, you got to be born yesterday because no, you're not going to paint that false narrative. So when you're looking at it from that standpoint, the timelines don't match up. And for the life of me, when none of my friends leave me without my phone and without the ability to get back to where I was.
How you go is how you
What real
return.
friends in this world? Real, I'm talking about the real friends. I'm not talking about the white t friends. I'm talking about the real friends is going to leave you to fend for yourself,
Getting that stories
but they
together. I
still
agree.
got your phone. And even more so, when y'all did make contact with law enforcement, why they didn't give y'all a citation for drinking underage on a boat? Who was driving? Because if you were driving, they should have been tested for driving under the influence.
How much y'all want to bet that they MAGA related? They Trump related. They from that same type cult, that same type, making America great again, making America slaves again, because, things have changed and shifted. They could have been cool since grade school, but the politics of it all has changed. We don't have to go along to get along with these nuggets. They look MAGA affiliate, absolutely MAGA affiliate, and they look like they done lured his ass in. Maggot related gross. Yep. I'm not gonna be surprised. It's just a texture and a feel. Just like it didn't take us long. I've been saying making America great again is making America slaves again. And they're gonna either try to put as many in the grave or enslave them in prison unjustifiably. And they are trying to start a race riot. Trump is pulling all cards because he on his way. That's what blows me about this administration. They criminals. So how dare you be like, okay, we got to enforce the law? Start at home first. Start at the top and make your way down. How you gonna call somebody a criminal when you a criminal? You got more bodies on you than the law allows. So how dare you? It's like, wait, what? That's why he never should have been put in office. So just imagine how many of them peach skin ass 50 shades of brown. Because whether they want to believe it or not, they come from us. We don't come from them. Their greed and their jealousy made them do a lot of whitewashing, which they try to forget. That's why Trump is doing everything he can to erase history and create his own. You still, I mean, it's like these nuggets, they just done lost their mind. They making money, they doing well, they living well. That's why that Jack Lane, when the Frisco track meet stuff first happened, and he got on that bullhorn on top of that Winnebago, and he said, they're trying to put us at the back of the bus. The roles are reversing. We're losing our power. White lives matter. He kicking up dust, dirt on purpose. So now they're not going after the bad guys. They're going after the good ones too. Because the good one, they know, is going to make us have a real big uproar. That's what they want. And then it'll be a war in the U.S. And then it'll be civil unrest. And Trump still trying to stay in the White House and shit. Yeah. And even him. I got to get to him. Because, that's why he stay on Barack. Because he black. And he was good. He's a good guy. I don't have any dirt on him. I can't blackmail him. I said he's from Hawaii. He's not even from, like Hawaii is not a part of the United States. But anyway, they talk about it. They look like monkeys now. You look more like one than we do. Michelle's a man now. Melania, that hoe there. Boy, she look like she done had some work done. You sure she not a shim him Kim? Yeah, but carry on. Carry on.
Good evening for everyone who's arriving. Make sure that you are subscribing and liking.
Shout out to Thelma. I gotta get on past all of this. Come on, let's go.
Thank you. I'm going to add this. Not hitting the like button on notice about what was going on with their son. And listen, us blacks, the colors, we got to work. We got to work immediately. And even the YTs got to work because the whites was like, something ain't right. What you mean you left Nolan and you didn't bring him back, or you only had his phone?
They are saying it.
So his parents, his mother specifically, Christine, who, let me tell you, she's a doll. Like, I went looking at her content. I can tell she's an amazing mom. I can tell Nolan was raised by amazing, active parents, from his mom to his dad to his family. They are hurting. They are hurting. One of the messages that she put, she said, updated. Please be on the lookout for Nolan. Last seen was west tip, north side of Horn Island today around 3 p.m. Wearing blue shorts
They lured that
and
boy.
sunglasses. It's unclear if he made it back to land.
Choked him out.
Please message me if you have seen him or have information about his whereabouts at or about 4 p.m. See, I told y'all what that timeline was. David, can you tell us what that area looks like? If that's in your area, can you tell us what that area looks like? She also put out a message that hey, I'm asking for any videos, photos from yesterday from Horn Ship Island that may have Nolan in them. Also, I appreciate all the love and support. We are a bit overwhelmed. Please.
Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
If that's in your area, can you tell us what that area looks like? She also put out a message that, hey, I'm asking for any videos, photos from yesterday from Horn Ship Island that may have Nolan in them. Also, I appreciate all the
Oh
love and
yeah, I saw
support. We
her.
are a bit overwhelmed. Please private message me only if you have details.
Hey Keith.
Y'all, can I be like transparent? Can I be
This is too much.
can I be real in this live? Can I really tell y'all what I, as soon as I saw this, what I, my gut told me.
Okay, let's go.
But before that, y'all make sure you take out the time to hit that like button, because I can't give y'all the tea. I knew in my gut that it was not, it was over. So when I heard the news that they left him and took their raggedy, dirty behinds home and did not seek to
Oh yeah, no.
go and
So
find
they
him, I
left him.
said,
Left him.
yeah, this is over. Now we need to focus on an investigation, because we've
Oh,
lost
they
a lot
went
of time.
home.
We lost a lot of time that we can't get back, because now we can't get information that we actually need. We can't get the information that we need because it has been taken away.
Time is
We
lapsed.
can't get those initial statements of their state of mind, because officers always treat YTs as victims and not suspects. But these are the usual suspects, because we cannot forget about Kendrick Johnson, who was rolled up in a mat, organs missing, and they said that he put himself in there. We can't forget about that. So if we can't forget about that, we cannot forget that this is similarly situated, like this is situated so close that we can find the truth. We can find the truth. So I'm going to show you one of his friends' posts yesterday. You see, Eric is the one with the long hair. This is Eric. Eric is in the blue shorts right
That look
next to
like
Nolan.
Austin.
Tell me what y'all think about what he posted and how suspicious his statement is. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, he didn't deleted all his posts. It's
Oh
zero.
wow.
But he posted, "See you soon, brother." How the fuck you gonna see him soon when y'all left him, had his phone? How is he gonna call anyone for help?
Wow.
Make it make sense. How was Nolan going to see you soon and y'all had his phone?
Wow.
Can somebody in the chat tell me how that makes sense?
Uh, uh, mm-mm.
Can somebody in the chat help me with that?
This is just craziness, y'all. This is foolishness.
Because it don't make sense.
That sure was. It's
See
covering
you
up.
soon, brother. Where you gonna see him at? You left him. You left him there, stranded. Did not try to find
Unalived.
him.
He was unalive when they
Did
grabbed
not
his
try to
phone.
locate where he is so you could give him his phone so he could at least have something for help. Bingo. Why would
I thought
they
he was
have
going to see a
his
girl.
phone? Exactly. Why would they have Nolan's phone if their story is he was going to meet with Katie, who is some girl? How was he going to get in contact with her? How he was going to locate her if y'all had his phone?
Reckon they didn't want him to meet up with Katie. All right, this is just
The
political.
white ain't whiting. Forgive me. The white is not whiting on this. So let's look at some messages. This message says, personally coming from me to tell you, they're not good kids.
Who
They
not?
fight. They pick fights. They pick on people at parties. Don't that sound like the meth cat?
I told you. Listen, I
Don't
told
this
y'all
sound
this
like
sound.
white pedigree,
Yeah.
tendency, propensity? They are all underage. Exactly. Which means that they should have been cited for drinking underage on a boat.
I told y'all it had a
Allowed.
texture.
Their parents were not on the doggone boat. I went to school with all of them. Not one in the picture is 21. Exactly.
I told
They
y'all
are
it had a
criminals
texture of
at this
Karmelo.
point. You're drinking underage on a boat, driving on a boat with alcohol. That's a crime. And yes, they're all racist, big Trump supporters. I will just leave it at that. You ain't got to, we already knew. And like
You can just
said,
tell.
we live in Mississippi. We all know the history of Mississippi. We know Mississippi burning. We know the history and the rhetoric of Mississippi.
It's a Trump thing. Hold on, let me shift gears. What time is it? So let me get to the hate in his meltdown last night. Cause they said he had a meltdown and he went dark on dark skin, other 50 Shades of Brown. I mean, since he all up in this thing, right? And it's just so coincidental that we wake up to a Mississippi burning situation. He was supposed to come to Texas. Let us not forget that. And then when the NAACPs and Crumps and civil rights attorneys and all of them picked up their case, he said, "Oh Lord, let me back that thing up." Say what? Back that thing up. Yeah, he all in it. He trying to do whatever he needs to do to not have to face the music to them Epstein files and want to come up and start fights however he can. Let's go.
Donald Trump was having a psychotic meltdown all last night. Up until midnight, he was making post after post. He made about 100 posts. He was posting things like this. Federal Reserve working paper suggests Biden illegal immigrant wave drove up home prices 30%. because Donald Trump failed to deliver on his promise and defrauded the American people and made housing less affordable. He's now blaming it on illegal immigrants and former President Biden. He's posting weird AI images and other images of himself kissing flags, AI images of the White House with a Confederate eagle on it that looks like an eagle in Nazi Germany. He's posting weird photos of himself with Santa Claus behind him and Macaulay Culkin. He's posting weird photos of the he wants Corinthian columns at the White House, and so he keeps posting
Macaulay,
Corinthian columns. And by the way,
didn't he
posting weird
have a
photos of himself with
situation
Santa
where they
Claus
was
behind him
messing with
and
him
Macaulay Culkin.
and wanted him to blame it on Michael
He's posting
Jackson?
weird photos of himself with Santa Claus behind him and Macaulay Culkin. He's posting weird photos of the he wants Corinthian columns at the White House, and so he keeps posting Corinthian columns. And by the way, they are ripping apart the columns at the White House as we speak and replacing them with Corinthian columns. He's posting weird black and white photos of someone he's claiming to be his uncle, Dr. John G. Trump of MIT. He's making posts saying that the crowd at 7:05 over the weekend on July 4th was 422,000 people. You didn't see him. It looked like it was in the low thousands, but Donald Trump claims it's 422,000 people, and all were forced to leave because of the weather, and the event was canceled, and everyone was gone because of the lightning, and it was so unfair. And I immediately overturned the decision, and I said, no, we're going to give this speech. We're going to do it. So then at least 150,000 people returned and watched me give the speech. I guess we should just
Yes,
ignore,
Macaulay.
Donald, what we saw where there were all of those empty chairs. It looked like you spoke in front of, I don't know, 1,000, maybe a few thousand people max. And then you did that bizarre fireworks show where you couldn't even see the fireworks because you blew up all the fireworks at once, and all you can see is smoke.
Just
And then that
slow.
resulted in the worst air quality, I might add, in all of planet Earth yesterday in Washington, D.C.
Just
I'll
slow.
show you this horrifically misogynistic and disgusting post he makes about Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, who he continues to harass. You know, Meloni's a far-right politician in Italy, so you would think that they would get along, but Donald Trump hates women. He hates powerful women. He hates NATO. He hates countries that were traditionally allied with the United States. So now Donald Trump is posting photos saying restraining order needed, as though Giorgia Meloni wants him so badly that she's stalking him. Thus, he needs a restraining order against her. Donald Trump, a sexual predator, a sexual deviant, adjudicated as such in a civil case here in the United States, which the Supreme Court ruled against him and did not take up his appeal. Donald Trump, separately a felon. Let's be clear. This guy is a felon. He is a criminal. He was found criminally liable for fraud in a fraud case, civilly liable for fraud. And that's what he's posting about Giorgia Meloni. And then he's posting this about former President Obama. He takes the Air Force One and then the old Air Force One, not the Qatari one that he flies around in, because he thinks real patriotism is flying around in a Qatari Air Force One. And then he posts a photo of Obama and Michelle Obama. And then he does this AI image with graffiti on it and says, yes, we can. Black Lives Matter. Obama. And then he has like Islam.
He having a
Black Lives
meltdown.
Matter. Obama.
Still got Obama in his
says,
head.
yes, we can. Photo of Obama and Michelle Obama. And then he does this AI image with graffiti on it and says, yes, we can. Black Lives Matter. Obama. And then he has like,
Yes, we can what? Yes, we can what? What is he trying to say? Yes, we can. Since he posted it, what is he trying to say on the cool? Huh? Why would you put Obama on your new plane that don't have nothing to do with the White House? That's your foreign allegiance. Yeah.
does this AI image with graffiti on it and says, yes, we can. Black Lives Matter. Obama. and then he has like Islamic text on the bottom. Like, what are you doing, man? You're such a fool. Like, you so embarrass our nation every day
Every
with
day.
behavior like that. What's the point? Can you not stand on your own merit? No, you can't, because you have none. Can you not stand and maybe, I don't know, try to actually give real data and talk about what people are
Because
experiencing
he's
right now?
an
Because let me tell you what
idiot.
they're experiencing right now. People are suffering in this country, psychologically tortured by the
Hey,
actions of your
Joe.
regime. Your tariffs against the world have increased inflation. People can't afford groceries. They can't afford gas. They see that the rich are getting richer. You and your oligarch friends are looting and pillaging while they're suffering right now. You're getting in never-ending wars right now. You have turned America into a laughingstock. People can't afford their rent. They sure as hell can't afford a home. You're ripping away health care from them. And this is your behavior. This is what you're posting. Weird images. The Trump family, 1915. Fred Trump, Friedrich Trump, Elizabeth. Why are you posting this? The
Because
Trump
they was
family,
racist.
1915.
They were
And then your
immigrants.
father, who got a serious Alzheimer's diagnosis around the time when he was your age, and behaved pretty much the way you're behaving right
Right
now,
now.
which I see definite parallels with. My father and mentor, Fred C. Trump, posting weird images of himself, arm wrestling Hulk Hogan, posting weird images of Melania Trump with a hat and Hillary Clinton with a hat.
Didn't he
Obsessed.
just do a comparison of him and President Barack Obama when Barack had on a hat and cigarette and he had on a military West Point? You know, because we know you ain't, you know, you dodged military. I mean, you dodged fighting for your country. You didn't have no respect for your country even back then. Your grandpappy, this is my granddaddy. He didn't serve. He avoided the German war. Yeah, he came over here, right? And that's when he started that brothel during the gold mine years. Yeah, y'all cowards. You was born into a cowardice family. And then you always comparing yourself or your immigrant ass wife, you know, to other people, cause you know that y'all don't equal up. It's not equal. You know, you're beneath them. Everything that you are, you're a cheater. That's why you hate Barack Obama, because he is not a thug. These young kids that's being caught up in this political warfare are not thugs. Karmelo Anthony was not one, and it do not appear that Nolan was one either. They are political casualties. One is in the grave, and the other was in the penal system. Now, I know I said that making America great again to them is making them slaves again, either to the grave or to prison. It getting worse and worse, yes. I never could have imagined it could go this far. Oh, yeah. He wants it to go further. Yeah. People need to vote. Absolutely. Got to get out and vote. Whether you think your vote counts or not, it does. He will not be going to this extreme. And he knows that once he's out, that he's going to prison. And he definitely don't want to be categorized as a criminal. That in which he is. Hell, it's almost as if everybody locked up needs to be let out, because the biggest criminal, the biggest organized crime is in the political office right now. And the administration and the judges. And they don't want to be exposed.
Weird AI, creepy images of himself pointing at planes, posting an AI billboard that says, if no one goes to jail for election fraud, what incentive is there not to cheat? Are you telling on yourself there?
Well, if
Are you
there's
telling
no
on...
punishment for those who grape minors, kidnap them and grape them, and then unalive them, and then serve them at McDonald's and shit? Is that why you keep doing it? Because you're avoiding prison? That's why you don't want the Epstein files to be fully exposed, and your administration is not following the law. That's why you're challenging the Constitution of the United States, because you don't want the law to abide to you. Yeah. Our eyes are open now. Nobody really falling
Yourself
for your
as the
bull
cheater,
crap.
because I'll tell you what, there has not been, I mean, if you want to go talk about widespread prosecutions of election fraud, go point them out to me. All I see is that you trying to rig elections. I see you sending your agents and your co-conspirators to try to overturn free and fair elections. So perhaps you're talking about yourself there. Weird videos he's posting of Mike Tyson. What else is he posting?
This was his
He posts
meltdown.
this of Flo Balogun, the American player on the FIFA team, on the U.S. World Team, Flo Balogun, who got the red card in the last game, and thus he was banned from playing in this game. But apparently Donald Trump and Howard Lutnick and others in the Trump regime called the head of FIFA, and who gave Donald Trump the Peace Prize, and then basically told him you have to overturn it. And then they overturned a red card. Now, look, do I want to see Flo Balogun play? Do I want to see the United States win? I do. But should Donald Trump have
They
made
are
the
going
phone
to
call
try everything to keep us
and
from voting.
interfered
Absolutely.
with a decision
And
that's
by that,
never
I mean
happened
Democrats,
in the
yes.
history of FIFA, basically going back to
They
like
have the
overturning a red card like that? It's like
They
never
know
happened
the
before.
districts
And now the
we
rest
live
of the
in.
world in Europe and FIFA,
Yeah,
everyone's
but
like, well, now
listen,
you've just
even with that,
delegitimized.
it's not just the hell. He got Republicans turning against him. He got more states that turn blue than ever. Red states are turning blue. He has Republicans voting against him. His judges that he appointed, they're not even following their rulings. They're just out of order.
FIFA was great. Like it was bringing people together. We didn't have to deal with Trump in it. It was great to have people from other countries here and see some of the states that Donald Trump rails against, right? People were loving Los Angeles and
Yeah, he's
Seattle
scared because
and seeing American cities across the country. And then Donald
I
Trump
told
does this.
Khomeini
And again, I want to see
funeral. He thought them
Balogun play.
people didn't
I thought it
like
was a
him.
bad call that he got the red card to
He's
begin with
scared.
personally. As David Rich says, though, if this stunt had been pulled by one of the military dictatorships that hosted the World Cup in the past, we'd still be talking about it decades later with astonishment that it can never have happened. And Trump goes, thank you, FIFA, for doing what was right and reversing a great injustice. Donald J. Trump, USA, USA. FIFA has suspended and reversed the automatic one-match ban for USMNT striker Flo Balogun after his red card against Bosnia and Herzegovina. He is now eligible to play in the game tonight. And again, on one hand, I'm happy he's playing tonight. On the other hand, the fact that Donald Trump called and interfered with the games, is I clearly understand why Europe and the rest of the world is absolutely livid at that decision. And then, there are some people saying, well, that didn't actually make the decision. It's Rule 27, Article 27. It was an independent decision by the board. Come on, we know what happened. He called up. He told Infantino, who gave him the Peace Prize, and they went to the board, and whatever the board was, same way he has a board of peace, they got the disciplinary board, it's BS, and they got the thing overturned. Meanwhile, while Donald Trump is posting that, a former beauty queen who said that Donald Trump groped her at a 1993 pageant has leveled new claims against Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana, alleging Ivana Trump helped funnel young women into Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. Beatrice Kuhl, who's now 55, a former Miss Switzerland and Miss Europe contestant, told the Daily Beast new Punch-Up Substack that she believes Ivana, Trump's first wife, who, by the way, she was very close with Ghislaine, they were like best friends, acted as a madam-style figure in Epstein's social world on par with his convicted co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. In the final part of a three-part interview, Kuhl said she believes Ivana played a major role in this whole cosmos, bringing in women in the same way as Maxwell. Example, she's from
A
Czechoslovakia.
whole
I've
damn
done a
madam.
lot of, and again,
Hey,
the Trump
Deborah.
regime denies that, obviously. You are aware that Ivana, in depositions, accused Donald Trump of raping her, and then
Yeah.
issued a retraction and said,
Yeah, I need for y'all to hit the
I
like button.
didn't
I'm gonna
mean
have to
like a
shut it down.
literal rape, and don't misconstrue my words. And because someone was writing a book about it, and then she said she like kind of issued a retraction after saying it, in the deposition. And you can go and read that. You can go and read that passage. I've read that passage before. Also, she divorced him after he was having an affair with Marla Maples, and then she died under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah,
Like
he
in
unalived her
2022,
too.
she allegedly fell down stairs, and then it was like the whole bizarre funeral, and then she got buried in the back lot of Bedminster, and the whole thing. More posts from Donald Trump of tearing down or altering the columns at the White House. More posts of the reflecting pool. By the way, hat tip to Amanda Moore. She's done such an incredible work. Amanda Moore has. This is what the firework cleanup at the Lincoln Memorial. The reflecting pool was green again, algae infested and green. Take a look for yourself, as they had to now do cleanup at the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool with all of the algae in it. Here, play this clip right here.
Look like shit. Just done ucked up our pond. Just done ucked up our pond.
I do want to point this out. French president candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon said the following about Iran and Israel. He's one of the French presidential candidates in the upcoming election. This is what he says. Is Iran a threat to the world? No, I don't believe that for a second. The illegal attack on Iran produced a strengthening of the regime, which now enjoys absolutely unprecedented prestige in the world because Iran defeated both Netanyahu and Trump. It was a very bad service that both of them rendered to the universal humanity. Today it is Netanyahu who does not respect peace, massacring the Lebanese en masse and continuing to kill Palestinians en masse. The principal source of disorder and war is the government of Mr. Netanyahu, with fascists in power, and the fact that this country is nuclear armed without anyone ever holding it to account. I find all of this very dangerous. He goes on to say the following about Macron meeting with Trump at Versailles. This man attacked a country, Iran, in a legal war with an associate, Mr. Netanyahu, who invades all of his neighbors. After he imposed on us 5% of our GDP to buy American weapons and tariffs that are unbearable, and which the European Union accepted with its usual spinelessness. Come down to earth, my friend. You really think going to Versailles is enough to stop a war? It's the opposite. When you go to Versailles, you generally start wars. And then French presidential candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon also said the following about U.S. and French relations. Fundamentally, non-alignment and independence. Every domain in which we are in their hands, we must get out of. I'm thinking particularly of digital data storage and artificial intelligence. In 250 years of history, 226 years of war, that doesn't exactly inspire my sympathy. They stole half the territory of Mexico. For those who still have any doubt that we need a cautious and distant friendship with them, go watch Antonin Baudry's film. You'll see how the United States intended to occupy us and replace our currency. Meanwhile, Israeli forces continued military operations across southern Lebanon this weekend in violation of the MOU between the United States and Iran in the Nabatea area. In the Nabatea area, Israeli warplanes struck residential buildings. while Israeli forces demolished multiple buildings in Kfar Timnet. Elsewhere, artillery, tank fire, helicopter, gunfire, drones, and quadcopters were reported across Bin Shabil, Tyre, or Sur, and the Marjan districts. Israeli forces also carried out repeated demolitions in Deir Surim, Tyre, Kalmin, Hadatha, and Bin Shabil, while drones dropped grenades near Hadatha, Mansouri, and surrounding villages. Fires were reported in several locations following shellings and demolitions, and you can see right here for yourself some of the photos. Meanwhile, Iran's ambassador to China reiterated Tehran's plans to introduce new service fees for ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz once the current 60-day fee-free period expires, but would offer special treatment to countries it considers friendly, like China. Tune back in about 90 minutes. I'm going to do a whole other video on the Ayatollah's funeral.
Okay, hold on. Whole damn meltdown. We got young kids being unalive for political reasons. It's just no reason for the hate. No reason for the hate. You running scared because of the Ayatollah. You unalive that man. They had no weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, you did it for Netanyahu. Now he don't want to fool with you. Hold on. Hold on. I need for y'all to hit the like button. It ain't but a few of us in here. Hold on.
Did that my whole career,
Hold on. Trying to get to him.
and I signed legislation to back it
Hold
up.
on.
You could pay down credit card debt faster. Credit Karma can show you 0% intro APR cards to help you pay down balances.
And I have to tell you, there are certain speeches in American history that people remember for decades.
Hold on.
Not because they were the longest speeches, not because they were the most eloquent speeches, but because
Let's see what he's saying
there are
here.
moments in public life when politics has to step aside. Elections come and go. Arguments fill the headlines. We spend years defending our beliefs and challenging one another across the aisle. But then something happens that reminds us we're all human first. Over the past several days, many Americans have been talking about Senator Mitch McConnell and his health. Whenever someone who has spent so many years serving this country faces health challenges, people naturally begin to reflect. They think about the years of service, the sacrifices, and the legacy that person will leave behind. I've always believed that leadership is bigger than party labels. You can disagree with someone's ideas, oppose their votes, and spend years debating them while still recognizing the dedication it takes to carry the weight of public office. Washington can be an unforgiving place. The pressure never stops. Every decision is examined. Every word is analyzed. And every mistake becomes tomorrow's headline. Few people truly understand that burden until they've lived it. For decades, Mitch McConnell has stood at the center of some of the most important political battles in modern American history. Some people admire him. Others strongly disagree with the choices he made. That's the nature of democracy. Every public servant eventually faces praise from some and criticism from others. But no matter where anyone stands politically, health has a way of changing the conversation. It reminds us that titles don't last forever. Power is temporary. The office eventually belongs to someone else. What remains is family, friendships, memories, and the impact we leave on the people around us. I've watched enough history unfold to know that time has a way of softening even the hardest political rivalries. Years later, people often remember the character of a person just as much as the legislation they fought for. They remember determination, resilience, and the willingness to keep showing up when the job demanded everything they had. Today, my thoughts are with Senator McConnell and everyone close to him. I hope he receives the best care possible. I hope he finds strength during difficult days. And I hope those around him remind him that public service is never measured by a single headline or a single moment. America has always been strongest when we remember our shared humanity. Political victories come and go, but kindness and compassion are values that never go out of style. Moments like these invite all of us to pause, put aside our differences for a while, and simply wish another person well. As the years pass, one lesson becomes clearer than ever. History is rarely as simple as the headlines make it seem. We often remember the debates, the speeches, and the close votes. But behind every public office is a person who has dedicated a significant part of their life to serving the country. Senator Mitch McConnell has been a fixture in American politics for decades. Through changing administrations, economic crises, wars, and moments of national celebration, he remained one of the Senate's most influential figures. Whether people agreed with him or not, few would deny the impact he had on the direction of the country. Public service is demanding in ways that most Americans never get to see. Long hours, constant travel, endless meetings, and the responsibility of making decisions that affect millions of lives can take a tremendous toll over time. That kind of responsibility isn't easy to carry year after year. When someone who has spent so much of
Is he
their life in
dead?
service begins facing health challenges, it reminds us that no one is immune to the passage of time. Age comes for every one of us.
Is he trying to
It doesn't
say he
care about
gone?
party affiliation, political victories, or titles held. It asks each of us the same question: how do we want to be remembered? I believe the answer is bigger than politics. Every leader leaves behind a legacy that future generations will study, debate, and interpret in different ways. Some will focus on accomplishments, others will focus on disagreements. That is the nature of democracy, and it should be. Healthy debate has always been one of America's greatest strengths. But compassion should never become a partisan issue. When someone is dealing with difficult health circumstances, the first response should be empathy. Before we see a senator, a Republican, or a political opponent, we should remember there is a husband, a father, a grandfather, a friend, and a fellow citizen. That perspective matters. Our country has endured because even in times of fierce disagreement, Americans have found moments to extend grace toward one another. Those moments don't erase differences. They simply remind us that our common humanity is greater than any political divide. Today, I hope Senator McConnell knows that many people, regardless of where they stand politically, are wishing him strength and peace. I hope his family finds comfort in being together, and I hope every day ahead brings renewed hope. There will always be another election, another debate, another issue for Congress to address. But health, family, and the time we share with those we love are gifts we should never take for granted. As the years pass, you begin to see life differently. Time has a way of teaching lessons that politics never.
Yeah, his time is up. Yeah, let's go here. I'm almost out of
The
time.
secret is to thin out, not shave.
Yeah, and he
Removing
ain't
only
right
part of
no
the fur
way.
helps ventilate and reduces shedding. It's like dressing your cat.
He be doing.
Because at the moment they were delivered, people instinctively understood that they were hearing something bigger than politics. And I have to tell you, when I watched Donald Trump's Independence Day address, I had that feeling. Not because I agreed with everything I heard, not because I disagreed with everything I heard, but because I realized almost immediately that this wasn't really a 4th of July speech. It was something else. Now, I've spent a good part of my life around politics. I've watched presidents speak during wars. I've watched presidents speak during economic crises. I've watched presidents try to unite Americans, and I've watched presidents speak directly to the fears Americans carry with them. And one thing I've learned is this. When a president stands in front of the American flag on Independence Day, he's not just talking about the past. He's telling you what he thinks the future of America should look like. And that's what made this speech so fascinating. Because regardless of whether you support Donald Trump or oppose Donald Trump, there was something about this speech that caused people all across Washington to stop and pay attention. Television networks reacted immediately. Political commentators reacted immediately. Members of Congress reacted immediately. And ordinary Americans sitting in their living rooms on the 4th of July reacted immediately. Now, whenever that happens, I always ask myself the same question. What did people actually hear? Because political speeches are funny things. The words themselves matter, but often what matters even more is what people believe those words mean. Some people heard patriotism. Some people heard a warning. Some people heard optimism. Others heard something entirely different. And I have to admit, that fascinated me. Because America has always been a country built on stories. Stories about freedom. Stories about opportunity. Stories about what it means to be an American. And every generation eventually has to decide which story it believes. Now, when I listened to this Independence Day speech, I found myself thinking about something that happened many years ago. I remember speaking to an old political strategist who had worked with presidents from both parties, and he told me something I've never forgotten. He said the most powerful speeches aren't the ones that tell people what to think. He said the most powerful speeches are the ones that tell people what they're afraid of. And the more I thought about that conversation, the more I began to understand why this particular speech created such a reaction. Because beneath all the patriotic language, beneath all the applause, beneath all the headlines, there was a much bigger question being asked. What kind of country do Americans believe they live in? And perhaps more importantly, what kind of country do they believe they're leaving behind for their children? You know, throughout American history, moments of uncertainty have always produced powerful political movements. The Civil War did, the Great Depression did, the Cold War did. And whenever Americans become uncertain about the future, they begin looking for leaders who promise certainty, leaders who promise strength, leaders who promise clarity. And that's why I think this Independence Day speech mattered. Not because it changed America overnight, not because it introduced ideas nobody had ever heard before, but because it revealed something that millions of Americans were already feeling, a deep uncertainty about where the country is going. And once I started thinking about it that way, I began asking myself a question that honestly surprised me. What if this speech wasn't really about celebrating America's past? What if it was about deciding who gets to define America's future? You know, the more I thought about that speech, the more I realized that what made it so remarkable wasn't necessarily what was said. It was when it was said. Because Independence Day occupies a unique place in American political life. Think about it. For almost 250 years, Americans have gathered on the 4th of July to celebrate an idea. Not a political party, not a president, not a government, an idea. The idea that ordinary people can govern themselves. The idea that freedom is worth preserving. The idea that the future of this country belongs to every generation that inherits it. And because of that, presidents have always understood something very important. When you speak on Independence Day, you're not just giving a speech. You're speaking to the American story itself. Now, I've seen presidents use that moment in different ways. Some presidents have tried to reassure Americans. Some have tried to inspire Americans. Some have tried to warn Americans. But all of them understood that the 4th of July is never really about politics. It's about identity. It's about who we think we are, and perhaps more importantly, who we think we're becoming. That's why I found myself paying such close attention to the reaction, because the reaction told us something important. People weren't arguing about a policy proposal. They weren't arguing about a budget. They weren't arguing about legislation. They were arguing about America. And whenever Americans began arguing about the meaning of America itself, history tells us something important is happening. Now, throughout our history, we've gone through moments like this before. The Civil War wasn't just a military conflict. It was an argument about what America meant. The Great Depression wasn't just an economic crisis. It was a crisis of confidence. The Cold War wasn't simply a geopolitical struggle. It was a debate about competing visions of the future. And every generation eventually reaches a point where it asks itself a difficult question. What kind of country are we becoming? Now, I'm not suggesting that we're reliving those moments. History never repeats itself exactly. But history does have a way of reminding us that uncertainty changes how people think. When people become uncertain about the future,
we ordered too many blankets. Genuinely too many. And rather than pay to ship them back to our supplier, we're doing something we've never done before. Here's the situation. We make 100% muslin cotton blankets, the same fabric hospitals use for newborns, the same material that's been trusted on the most sensitive skin in the world for decades. We just made it oversized for adults. And this quarter, we got our inventory forecast completely wrong. We ordered...
So nobody's gonna hit the like button.
they began searching for certainty. When people become uncertain about institutions, they begin searching for leaders. And when people become uncertain about their country, they begin searching for a story that explains what's happening. And that's why I think this particular speech resonated with so many people. Because underneath all the political language, underneath all the headlines, underneath all the commentary, there was a very simple message. America is changing. Now, whether you think that change is good or bad depends entirely on your perspective. But nobody can deny that Americans feel it. They feel it economically. They feel it culturally. They feel it politically. And perhaps for the first time in a very long time, many Americans are asking themselves whether the country their children inherit will look the same as the country they grew up in. That's a powerful question. And powerful questions create powerful politics. You know, one of the lessons I learned during my years in public life is that people don't just vote based on policies. They vote based on emotions, hope, fear, pride, anxiety, belonging. And whenever a political leader successfully speaks to those emotions, people listen. Not because they agree with every word, but because they recognize the feeling. And as I watched the reaction to this Independence Day speech unfold, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. Maybe the real story wasn't what Donald Trump said. Maybe the real story was why millions of Americans were prepared to hear it. Because that tells us something profound about where America is today. And once I started thinking about that question, I found myself asking another. What if this moment isn't really about one speech, one politician, or one election? What if it's about something much bigger? What if it's about a country trying to decide what it believes about itself? You know, after spending a lifetime in politics, I've come to believe that most political arguments aren't really about politics. They're about something deeper. They're about identity.
Yeah.
They're about belonging.
That's probably why they don't want to
And they're about the
admit that he
future
gone.
people imagine for themselves and for their children. And that's why I couldn't stop thinking about the reaction to this Independence Day speech. Because the reaction itself may have been more important than the speech. Think about what happened. Within minutes, television networks were analyzing every sentence. Political strategists were debating every phrase. Social media exploded. Supporters celebrated. Critics sounded alarms. And millions of ordinary Americans looked at the exact same speech and somehow saw two completely different countries. Now, that's not entirely new. America has always had disagreements. We've always had political divisions. That's part of democracy. But what struck me about this moment was the intensity. Because when Americans stop arguing about policies and start arguing about the meaning of America itself, something larger is happening.
I believe that.
And I think deep down, people know that. You know, I remember years ago speaking with a historian who specialized in periods of moments in a nation's history are not when people disagree. He said the most important moments are when people stop agreeing on what they're disagreeing about. At the time, I thought that was an interesting observation. Today, I think it may be one of the most important observations I've ever heard. Because when I look at America today, I don't just see political disagreement. I see Americans trying to answer fundamental questions. What does patriotism mean? What does freedom mean? What does strength mean? What does it mean to preserve a country while also changing
Oh,
it?
very low. Hold on.
And whenever a society starts asking those questions all at once, politics becomes something bigger than elections. It becomes a debate about national identity.
Protein shakes are on sale for an unbelievable price.
We in
And
trouble.
Yeah, they might have 30 grams
In
of
other
protein
words,
in
we
1
in
gram.
trouble.
Now, every generation believes it's living through unprecedented times. But history teaches us that periods of uncertainty have always existed. The difference is that today everything moves faster. Information moves faster. Fear moves faster. Anger moves faster. Hope moves faster. And because everything moves faster, political movements become more powerful more quickly. That's why speeches matter. Not because they magically change reality, but because they give people a framework for understanding reality. And that's what fascinated me about this Independence Day address. Because millions of Americans didn't just hear a political message, they heard a story. A story about where America has been. A story about where America is going. And a story about who gets to decide what happens next. Now, whether that story inspires you or concerns you depends on your perspective. But one thing is undeniable. People responded to it emotionally. And whenever millions of people respond emotionally to the same message, every political leader should pay attention. Because emotions drive history. They always have. Fear drives history. Pride drives history. Hope drives history. And sometimes uncertainty drives history more than anything else. You know, throughout my years in public life, I've learned that people can tolerate a lot of things. They can tolerate political disagreement. They can tolerate economic hardship. They can tolerate uncertainty for a while. But what people struggle to tolerate is the feeling that nobody understands what they're worried about. And perhaps that's why this speech resonated so strongly. Because regardless of your politics, millions of Americans are worried. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about the future. They're worried about whether their children will have the same opportunities they had. They're worried about whether the country they grew up in is changing faster than they can understand. And when people become worried, they start looking for certainty. They start looking for leadership. They start looking for someone who can explain what's happening. And that's when I realized something that honestly surprised me. Maybe the biggest story here isn't what Donald Trump said on Independence Day. Maybe the biggest story is why so many Americans were waiting to hear it. And once I
I
started
wasn't
asking
waiting to
that
hear it. Was
question,
y'all waiting to hear it?
I found myself confronting an even bigger one.
I don't
What if
listen to none that
America
man
isn't
said.
arguing about politics anymore? What if America is arguing about what kind of country it wants to become? After spending a lifetime in politics, I've learned that there are moments when a country reveals something about itself, not through legislation, not through elections, and not even through political victories, but through the questions its people begin asking. And that's what struck me about the reaction
Were
to this
y'all waiting to hear
Independence Day
that
speech.
message? I didn't.
Because the
I
more I
don't. I
watched
don't even know what
Americans
he
react
said.
to it, the more I became convinced that we weren't really arguing about one politician. We weren't even arguing about one political party. We were arguing about something much bigger. We were arguing about the story America tells itself. Now that may sound abstract, but think about it. Every country has a story. A story
I don't
about
even
who
know
its
what he
people
said.
are. A story about where they
Other than
came
he
from.
wanted his
And
face
a
in
story
gold on
about where
Mount
they're going.
Rushmore.
For generations, Americans shared a remarkably powerful story. We believed that every generation would leave behind a stronger country than the one it inherited. We believed that tomorrow would be better than today. And perhaps most importantly, we believed that despite all our disagreements, we were still participating in the same national project. Now that doesn't mean America was
The
ever
Lulu
perfect.
line
Of
narcissist.
course it wasn't. We've had
The
wars,
Lulu.
we've had economic crises, we've had political scandals, and periods of tremendous division. But underneath all of that, there was still a broad agreement about the American story itself.
He
And
never
I
cared
think
about
that's
America.
what's changing. Because when I listened to this speech and then watched the reaction that followed, I didn't just see political disagreement. I saw Americans describing two completely different countries. One group sees a country that's losing its identity. Another group sees a country that's evolving.
Winter clothes are piling up at home. You need the storage
I
bag.
see
It's huge.
evil destruction,
A whole closet of winter
malice
clothes
and
fits.
mayhem. The devil
One
trying
group
to
sees decline.
outplay
Another
God.
group sees progress. One group fears that America is changing too quickly. Another fears that America isn't changing quickly enough. And what's remarkable is that both groups genuinely believe they're fighting to preserve the country they love. Now that's not unprecedented. Throughout history,
Not with Trump.
societies have always experienced moments when old assumptions begin to break down. Moments when people stop asking which policy is correct and start asking, who are we? Those are the moments that shape history. Because policies can change. Politicians come and go. Elections are won and lost. But once a country begins debating its own identity, the conversation becomes much more profound and perhaps much more difficult. You see, one of the greatest strengths of America has always been our ability to disagree while still believing that we belonged to the same story. We could fight, we could argue, we could hold different opinions, but at the end of the day, most Americans still believed that we were all trying to write the next chapter of the same book. And that's why moments like this concern so many people. Not because of one speech, not because of one politician, but because they force us to ask whether we still believe in the same story. Now, I'm not suggesting that America is falling apart.
Okay.
Far from it. America has
Y'all, I've been
survived.
on here for 2 hours and 5 minutes, and I only have 43 likes. I'm out.